Joseph Bernstein, BuzzFeed. Never mind the Russians. Meet the bot king who helps Trump win Twitter. Did you read about this guy? Microchip. Yeah. So this guy is, Midwestern, not a Russian, Midwestern guy.
Don't look it up on Twitter, though. It's gone. They took it down.
Yeah, but they take it down all the time, and he comes back all the time. Yeah. He's been banned countless numbers of time. The example they're giving is the most recent Susan Rice unmasking. This guy decided that was going to be a story. So he began blasting out dozens of tweets and retweets. He tweets, it would be nice to get Susan Rice trending. And then he did it. Now, this guy is apparently a web developer with good skills. He hides his traces very well so that nobody is really able to figure out his real identity. He agreed to talk to BuzzFeed because he's a publicity junkie as well. Over the 24 hours following his own call to arms, Microchip tweeted or retweeted more than 300 times about Rice, including everything from a photoshopped image of Donald Trump eating her head out of a taco bowl to demands that she die in jail, almost always accompanied by the tag hashtag Susan Rice. And then he implored others to do this. These are the tweets. This micro magic jingle is gone, but he'll have another account because it's very easy to create accounts on Twitter. By 9 a.m. the next day, the tag was tweeted 20,000 times an hour, was trending on Twitter, 34,000 times an hour by 11 a.m. And then it got the most important retweet of all, the retweet from the president. And this basically, here's his triumphant tweet that evening, starting with a single Cernovich article. We knocked this one out of the park. We can do this every day just like we did before. And it becomes a story. They know how to make it a story. And that this guy is one guy who's manipulating Twitter. He says BuzzFeed News got an interview with him. And he says, I feel like I'm a scientist showing electricity to natives that have been convinced electricity is created by Satan, so they murder the scientist. He says he's discovered how to manipulate and use Twitter. He says it's all us, not Russians, and we're not going to stop. This is now I'm not bashing on Twitter again. I know you don't like that, but I'm not doing that. Leo. Because it's not Twitter's fault. Twitter just exists like any social network. It's really the fault of the media that gives this all this weight, because this is just a guy running a bunch of bots. But it's given weight. Twitter's outraged. And actually, they don't ever say Twitter's outraged because they know that would diminish the importance of the article. They say people are outraged. Thousands of people are protesting.
So, Leo, I know that there's a certain amount of fatigue around bashing Twitter, but why isn't it Twitter's fault? We can't wait until every human being is virtuous, because we've been waiting a long time.
It wouldn't be, because it wouldn't be a problem if it weren't picked up and then covered by mainstream media.
But it wouldn't go viral if Twitter didn't. If Twitter were able to block bots, if Twitter gave
Twitter could do a better job with this
moderation.
Guy. Yeah.
I mean, for example, like you look at Google Plus or Facebook. Facebook has a real names policy. Google Plus used to. Google Plus is totally closed outside, or so is Facebook. So doing bots and things like that is a little harder. I think there's just a lot more. There's so much damage that's done for a nominal benefit by Twitter. And so I think that.
By the way, this guy he showed BuzzFeed dozens of accounts he has ready to take over when he gets suspended, because he always does get suspended, but he uses VPNs. He hides his name. And this is the kind of the payoff quote. Microchip says he has an ideal platform in Twitter in which to shape a message. Quote, Twitter is easier than other social networks and more volatile, he said. Emotions run high at 140 characters. The chaos is perfect.
That is true.
So if you're worried about fake news, fine, but these are perfect platforms for manipulation.
Yeah.
Microchip says, I can make whatever claims I want to make. This is how the game works.
This is why I don't source my stories from Twitter.
Right. Thank you. That's all I'm saying. Stop sourcing stories from Twitter.
But bloggers and journalists are not going to do that. So the media.
That's not true. I think the challenge is here's one of the challenges. You have to decide, like, the original people reporting on this are media organizations with an agenda. one. Two, when you're a reputable news organization, you assess, like, is this a tempest in a teapot, or is this part of a deeper issue that's important to lots of people? And that's how you should. I mean, you can't just say, I can't source anything on Twitter, or I have to ignore Twitter. I think it's a good indicator of where the zeitgeist is, but then you have to do actual reporting around it. And I don't think that's
zeitgeist. I mean, isn't Twitter a bubble? I mean, everybody always says, oh, you know, Silicon Valley is a bubble, and you know, they're not real people. Twitter only has how many active users a month? 300 million monthly active users,
max.
And half of those are bots. So,
and the other half are journalists.
It reflects a limited zeitgeist. I mean, it's not how people in the real world are thinking, or is it?
Well, I mean, this is the problem. So there are journalists and there are people in the public who don't think, oh, there's this problem that people are sending out these bots. What they think is, oh, this is true. This is the truth. Getting past the dishonest media.
Right.
And it's a democratizing platform, and enough of it circulates to make it a phenomenon. So even if the mainstream media, some of these things are so viral that it's actually a dereliction to not cover the virality of the message that's going out there. I mean, the fact that lots of people are repeating and sharing this information itself is in fact legitimate news, which as you see on the mainstream on the cable news shows, just covering the fact that something is a fake news story legitimizes the fake news story. That's just the nature of that medium. There was a great piece circulating today pointing out how why comedians are so much better at covering fake news and false statements by politicians and others, because they don't have this sense of fairness that the media requires. The sense of fairness is being manipulated by the fake news crowd and the propagandists. And they almost can't help it. Whereas comedians can go right for the jugular and say, oh, this is ridiculous.
I saw that article. That was awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Although that's partly also because comedians have no responsibility to be accurate or balanced or informed or have facts or any of that stuff. They just have to be funny. It's a lot easier if that's the only requirement.